Okay, I hope the lightning will stay like this because I like it that way. No, you see, it's getting darker and that's what I don't want. So I hope it's going to focus. Okay, you guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. So today you're going to get the October wrap up for me. Again, sorry if I'm a little in a hurry just because I have to go to work, so hopefully this will work out just fine. The first book I read in October was What Happens After Midnight by Kiel Walther. The main character is in boarding school, and every year someone called the Jester gets picked, and he always stays anonymous, and he always picks out the Jester for the next year without anyone finding out who the Jester ever was. So this year's Jester is the ex-boyfriend of the main character Lily, and he kind of like tags her in this group of 5 people to kind of organize this prank, and it all happens in a span of a night. And my personal opinion about this book is that it is very easy to read. It gave me like this fall vibe because it was so adventurous, but I did not really connect to the characters as much as I hoped I would. That's why I'm giving the book 3 stars or 3.5 stars. Again, I really enjoyed this book. 3 stars is a good rating for anyone who thinks like otherwise. This is the first book. The second book was my second Riley Sager book, and it was The House Across the Lake. Now, he writes thriller books, so it was basically my second thriller, and this one was so good as well. I love his writing. I do still prefer The Only One Left by him. In my opinion, it's better. The plot was more realistic. So basically, in The House Across the Lake, you follow the main character, which of course I don't remember names, I'm sorry for that, but the main character loses her husband and he drowns in the lake across their home. So after that, she goes back to her hometown to her mother, and then she develops some alcohol problems. I also have to mention she is an actor, so it's of course when something like this happens, it's a little problematic for her job. So basically her mother sent her back to the house across the lake where she has to like kind of calm down, stop this alcohol addiction. So when she goes back there, she meets their neighbor, so the house across of her house, and there lives a model with her husband. And you can basically imagine the house like this. Their house is basically made of glass, so that at night the main character could actually see through those goggles she had at home, see what happens across the house. At night there was some very suspicious things happening in this house, and one day this model gets missing, and she feels kind of responsible of finding her and knowing what happened to her. So you follow how she's trying to solve this mystery basically. So this is a little summary about the book. I love his writing so much, if I didn't already mention that. But the main plot was not realistic at all. It had some kind of a fantasy element to it. That's the only thing that really bothered me, but it was okay. It wrapped up very well at the end. I'm giving this book 4.5 stars. Again, I love his writing so much. I'm hoping I'm going to pick other books by him in the future. But yeah, that is for the second book. Moving forward to the third book, I needed basically kind of a romance book after reading a thriller. So I picked up Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. She also wrote The Bodyguard, which I read last month. And Haley Pam gave this book 5 stars. So I was like kind of excited to see why she rated it that high. And I definitely get why she did. I just personally didn't give it 5 stars, but it was way up there. So basically you follow the girl named Florence, and she gets into kind of a car accident, or like a car kind of hits her, and after waking up from a coma, basically, she gets told that something in her brain is damaged, and I don't know what exactly this thing is called, but something in our brain, and I didn't even know this, but it's responsible for us to see faces. So I'm seeing myself and I see my face, and I guess something in the brain is responsible for that. Now, I don't know if this information is true, but if it is, wow. She didn't know if she was going to lose the symptom ever, or if she was going to stay this way forever. So in the meanwhile, while she was recovering, she meets a guy in the elevator. Oh. So moving past this, where was I? So yeah, she meets her neighbor in the elevator. She thought he was talking very bad about a woman. She kind of like hated him from like first sight. Of course, she couldn't see him, but this is how she felt about him. Then he was put in a situations with her where he helped her. They spend like more time together, and I forgot to mention that she is also a painter. You have kind of her struggle with this job also in the book. I really enjoyed it. It was a very cute, a very sad read for me, and I gave it 4.25 stars, which is a well deserved. I want to apologize for the lightning if it kind of changes in between. I'm trying to keep this one because it's for me like the best, but it kind of changes. I don't know why, but we'll move past it. The fifth book I read was, and I have this one here with me, it was Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This was so fun to read and fascinating because the author, I don't know how exactly old she is, but like around 19 or 20, so just 2 or 3 years older than me. And for her, writing a fantasy book was so fascinating to read about. And I was texting a friend on Instagram. She also has a Bookstagram account, and we accidentally just started this book together. And we were both very confused from the beginning. Like the first probably 50 pages was so confusing that I like kind of was shocked why everyone was loving it so much. My friend DNF'd it, and I had hope for this book. Like I wanted to see why Sarah gave it a 5-star, and she's obsessed with this book. And of course I'm easily influenced, so I had to see for myself why she gave it the 5 stars. So I read past these very complicated pages, and surprisingly I loved this book. Of course it wasn't a 5-star because I didn't understand the first 30-50 pages. Why do fantasies always have to be so complicated at the beginning? I don't know. But this book basically talks about two groups of people. One being the elites, the second group are the ordinaries. The elites are people with powers, the ordinaries don't, and these ordinaries shouldn't actually exist. So you have the king in his kingdom and his son Kai, and he can sense powers and use them. So if you're standing beside him, he takes basically your power without even touching you and can use it for himself. So whenever he senses that someone does not have this power, he throws them out of town. But then comes the main character. Her name is Payden, and she does not have the power. Nonetheless, she lives among the elites, but she pretends to have powers. So every year there are like trials in the kingdom. Surprisingly, Payden gets picked up as well as Kai, and this is kind of a special trial because he's the king's son, and that doesn't normally happen. Kai is kind of attracted to Payden, so they spend time together, and oh my god, you guys, this is a slow burn book and nothing happens in this book, but when they spend time together, just butterflies, you know? Kai is such a gentleman. We all love him. If you read this book, you will know what I mean. Also, Peyton, I loved her so much. She's just such a kind and brave, I would say, because she went through a lot and still she is so strong. And you know, living among the elites for her, of course, or for the ordinary, is not easy. So for her, like, even getting into these trials was very insane. This was a very good book. I'm giving it probably 4.25 or 4.5 stars. I'm still hesitant, but maybe more 4.5 stars because it really was good. I was hooked and I want the second book immediately. So the last book I read was The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, and this one talks about the main character, Florence, and she is a ghostwriter. She writes for a famous actor who is like kind of ill, but she's famous and she wants to write more books, and Florence kind of does that for her. And Florence has this special ability of being able to see ghosts. So she sees them, and not all of them. Like, it's not just any type of ghost, only people with kind of like unfinished business, like we know in like movies. She did see like one when she was a little, and she solved a murder for him, like how he was murdered. The town basically thought she was crazy and delusional, so she left town. And 10 years after that, someone from her family calls her and tells her to come back to her hometown. So she goes back, and in her hometown they own a funeral home, so they're like kind of responsible for organizing funerals. And after getting to her hometown, she starts seeing a ghost, and they kind of try to figure out what his unfinished business is. While doing that, they spend so much time together. About the book and how I felt about it, I enjoyed the first part of the book as well as the last part. The part in the middle, maybe like the 100 or more than 100 pages in the middle, they were kind of slow to me. Like, nothing was really happening. She was just organizing the funeral and, you know, getting closer to her family again after not seeing them, of course, for 10 years. So yeah, I personally gave the book 3.75 stars. It was enjoyable. It was an easy read, but again, nothing crazy. Of course, it has this ghost element. Yeah, that was the last book. Okay, you guys, I forgot to mention the first book I finished this month, and it was not What Happened After Midnight. It was actually Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and I'm not sure why I forgot about it again. I forgot about it yesterday as well. But this book, like, kind of to sum it up, it talks about games, like video games, and these two best friends kind of like they meet at a clinic or a hospital, and they become good friends because the main character is diseased. So the girl becomes his friend, and when they kind of like grow up a little, they invent or create this game together. It was actually a bestseller back in 2019, but I'm not sure about the date. Don't take my word for it, but it was definitely a bestseller. And I guess a movie is being made to this book. So many people love it and gave it 5 stars. I didn't really connect to the characters, and I thought it was a little hard for me to read. It is not nonfiction. It has another genre that I'm also going to leave on the screen. I did definitely enjoy some parts of the book, just not all of them, and I skipped through lines very fast because I just wanted to be done with this book as fast as possible, and that's why I'm giving it like probably 3 stars. Again, this is just my personal opinion. Many people loved it and like are crazy about it. Even the YouTubers that I watch I hope you enjoyed this video and could like pick some recommendations out of it. I had a very good reading month in my opinion, with some very good and enjoyable reads. And yeah, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much. It means a lot to me. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you next month again for the November wrap up. Bye!